when you look at motive here, Clay, it would seem strange for Russia. Germany is about to get, this is a pipeline that connects into Germany, and this has always been the leverage that Russia has over Germany. Germany gets 30-40% of its natural gas from Russia directly, right? They're about to head into wintertime. It is going to be shockingly expensive to a lot of people to just keep the heat on in their homes. It's very cold in Dusseldorf in December and January, okay? So this is going to be a big problem. The question I think that has to be answered is, would the Russians just stop sending the gas? That would be within their power, too. Why do sabotage unless, meaning self-sabotage of the Russian pipeline that would also cut off funding, unless this is their last play to try to bring the European component of the pro-Ukraine alliance to its knees to get a final settlement.
This Nord Stream, Buck, I mean, we were talking about this off air, would be normally the number one story in the world by far if this hurricane were not coming, because of the impact that the energy industry is going to potentially bring to bear on Europe because it's a monster issue itself.
This is a multi-billion-dollar and possibly war and peace level whodunit.
Yes.
As in, what the heck is going on with this Nord Stream pipeline and the possible intentional sabotage of this. Clay, let's dive into this when we come back. People need to know about what's going on here. There's been a lot of really bellicose rhetoric out of Russia in recent days. And who's responsible for what happened here with this Nord Stream pipeline that is now leaking natural gas? There's photo and video of this in the out in the
question that I want you to answer when we come back, Buck, because you worked in the CIA. Don't answer it now because this is called an incredible tease, but I am actually genuinely curious what you would say. What do you think the CIA's degree of certainty as to who created this explosion in the Nord Stream pipelines is? How much do we actually know, and how does that impact the geopolitical terrain in particular? I would love to know what you think we actually know, because it is a massive whodunit as we sit here right now. Okay, I understand for a large majority of you out there, you don't spend a lot of time thinking about pipelines delivering oil and gas around the world and what their impact is. So this story may not be getting the amount of attention it ordinarily would, certainly because Hurricane Ian is hitting, and that is going to completely and understandably gobble up all the attention in the United States. But Buck and I wanted to make sure that we address this story because from a geopolitical perspective, it is the biggest story that is going on right now in the world. And that story is that Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, two pipelines that were designed to take natural gas from Russia to Germany, and you can correct me if I'm getting these facts wrong, Buck, because I think you're even better plugged in on this than I am, have suddenly been blown up effectively underwater. And there are now billions of dollars in damages to these pipelines, and the natural gas that would otherwise be coming from Russia to Europe is now not able to get there. And there is essentially an international whodunit underway in the world to try and figure out who is responsible for blowing up, intentionally it appears, based on all the evidence, Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines undersea. Now, Buck, the question I asked as we went to break, I'll toss you this one because I'm curious. To what extent do you think our top intelligence agencies, like the CIA, are aware in the United States of who is responsible at this moment as we speak? And with what degree of certitude would you anticipate they are aware?
Well, here's the Daily Mail has reported here that it was, quote, revealed last night that the CIA warned weeks ago that the pipes could be attacked after agents sent a strategic warning to European allies, including Germany. And this is according to sources talking to Der Spiegel, the German paper, though they refused to say whether Russia was identified as a culprit. So somehow there was apparently, or reportedly, I should say, some warning that came from the U.S. intelligence community weeks ago that these pipes could be attacked. That's interesting. Another interesting data point on this is that some pipelines from a pipeline from the Baltic just went into operation. Right. This was, and I know the explosions came on this same day that Poland, Norway, and Denmark opened a new natural gas pipeline under the Baltic Sea. That is very interesting. Some would say a little too convenient timing for something like this to happen. The big debate right now, and to your question about how much they know, I think that they, usually in the intelligence community, they always say it's like filling in a jigsaw puzzle, but you don't even know what the final puzzle looks like. That's the old thing they talk about. They probably have some indicators, but not enough to 100% know. However, there are people who are pointing back to, and look, I don't know, and I don't think I know. I want to be clear about that. But here is Joe Biden saying something. This is not helpful because now we get into the motives component of this. Here's Biden earlier this year, the president of the United States.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly? Since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control.
We will. I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
I promise you we'll be able to do it.
Doesn't help.
About a pipeline that is not controlled by the U.S., that is not running on U.S. soil or U.S. territorial waters or even near the U.S. anywhere. And so people are pointing to that. I think, when you look at motive here, Clay, it would seem strange for Russia. Germany is about to get, this is a pipeline that connects into Germany, and this has always been the leverage that Russia has over Germany. Germany gets 30-40% of its natural gas from Russia directly, right? They're about to head into wintertime. It is going to be shockingly expensive to a lot of people to just keep the heat on in their homes. It's very cold in Dusseldorf in December and January, okay? So this is going to be a big problem. The question I think that has to be answered is, would the Russians just stop sending the gas? That would be within their power, too. Why do sabotage unless, meaning self-sabotage of the Russian pipeline, that would also cut off funding, unless this is their last play to try to bring the European component of the pro-Ukraine alliance to its knees to get a final settlement. That's right. That's one version of how the motives go down.
While trying to make it look like the U.S. was responsible, right? For people out there who would say, okay, this is why it's a whodunit, because Russia could turn off the natural gas spigot and just say, we're not going to give our gas to Europe. If they did that, though, we would know, Russia's making the calculated decision to do that. If Russia blew up a part of the pipeline to make that natural gas impossible to send, they have the audio clip we just played of Joe Biden, too, saying that the U.S. could do something about it, then they can point their finger at the United States and say, the United States did this to try to cut Russia's legs out from underneath it. So the whodunit, and I think it's fair to say the whodunit, because we don't know, is Russia or the United States-backed interest, right? Like, who's responsible for this?
And it's worth noting in the backdrop of all this, the background of all this, we haven't talked to you that much about Ukraine because, honestly, we think there are generally more important things to handle here at home. But the Russians have been conscripted recently.
Yes.
Russians are protesting. There's violence in the streets over this. They've been losing territory, substantial territory to Ukrainian offensive. Putin's back is more against the wall right now than it has ever been during this conflict. And you throw this pipeline sabotage. Everyone's calling it sabotage. Every country, the EU, the U.S., Russia.
It's not accidental.
It's not accidental. Folks, this is how very bad things happen. This is how things spiral out of control very quickly. So Clay's right. Today, the biggest story in the country is certainly the storm coming ashore. It has already come ashore in Florida. But in the background of our, or in the back of our minds, we do have to keep an eye on the situation of this pipeline, Russia, Putin. A lot of talk about maybe Putin's back up, is up against the wall and nukes, tactical nukes. What would we do in response, Clay? A lot of questions.
It's a mess, and it may get much worse soon.